Our next lesson in Unit 2 on Logic and Reasoning deals with Venn diagrams. Venn diagrams are a visual way of representing how information relates to each other. So our essential question is, how do I draw and interpret Venn diagrams? Okay, so 2 vocabulary words here. Venn diagram and element. So the Venn diagram is the visual way of representing information in a set. A set is a group of items that are or like items. Okay, and then the element is each item in the set. We have a couple of different types of Venn diagrams. Our first type here, notice that we have one circle completely inside of the other. Some key words for this particular setup are all, always, and every. Okay. When we look at this Venn diagram, we read it as all elements of P are elements of Q. We say that P is a subset of Q. So what do we mean by that? We mean that everything in P is also part of Q. P is a smaller group. So if I say that Q are WTW students and P are freshmen, so all freshmen are also part of the WTW group. An interesting thing to notice is that this happens to be a conditional statement. The hypothesis is included in your conclusion. Symbolically, we would write this one is P if and only if Q. If you are a freshman, then you go to W.T. Woodson. Okay. If you are a rose, then you are also a flower. Okay, so we can write conditional statements. We can represent conditional statements using this type of Venn diagram. And then based on this, you can figure out all the other conditional statements and their Venn diagrams, right? We could do the inverse, not P, therefore not Q, or converse, Q, then P, and our contrapositive, if not Q, then not P. Okay, I personally only have the Venn diagram for the conditional statement memorized. I know how to write my other statements symbolically, so it's pretty quick and easy to write the other Venn diagrams. Another type of Venn diagram you will notice is overlapping. Key words for these type of diagrams include some and sometimes. Now there's a couple of different situations that happen when you have overlapping Venn diagrams. Some elements of P are also elements of Q, and these are called overlapping sets. All right, I'm giving you a brand new symbol here, one that we have not seen before, but one that is similar to one we saw before. This stands for union. Okay, you also saw it this way. It's read P or Q. All right, we saw it when we did compound statements. Notice the symbols both open up like the U in union. All right, that's one way to help you remember it. This means we're interested in everything that is in either set. So literally everything inside P and everything inside Q is part of our answer. Next, we have overlapping sets where we're interested in the intersection. Again, we've got this really wide U-shaped symbol. This time it opens down, just like the symbol opened down when we were doing compound statements for and. This is red, P and Q. We only want the elements in both. Okay, P and Q. The third type of Venn diagram, you will notice, doesn't overlap at all. The key words here are no, never, and none. Okay, there is no relationship between the sets. They're called disjoint sets. Okay, so maybe P would represent quadrilaterals and Q would represent circles. There's no overlap there. Okay, they're completely different. So how do we draw Venn diagrams? Well, we need to look for some of those keywords. We need to be sure that we label our Venn diagram so that the reader knows what we're talking about. And frequently we have to do a little bit of shading. Okay, some. Some is my keyword for overlapping. Some students who take chorus also take band. All right. No, no. That means disjoint. No perfect squares are also prime numbers. Numbers divisible by 6 are always. Always means I've got a subset. Okay, numbers divisible by 6 are always divisible by 3. If you are divisible by 6, then you are divisible by 3. Another way to look at that. All right, next page. I want you to try numbers 4 through 6 on your own, so pause your video. Okay, take a minute to check these. Focusing in on those key words, very, very helpful for being successful with this. So now let's look at actually shading in Venn diagrams for the part we're talking about. I personally like to use colored pencils or highlighters up here on the smartboard because I'm having technical difficulties. I'm going to shade with slash marks. Not my favorite way to do it. Number 1, I'm only interested in Q. Okay, so that would be all of circle Q. Let's see here. This symbol, this upside down wide U means and. P and Q. So I'm interested in the overlap between P and Q. Has to be in both. Number 3, P or Q. Okay, it means in either one. So everything in both of these circles. Ooh, this one is interesting. P and not Q. Okay, so I'm interested in P but not Q, so I'm interested here. Don't include the overlap. in P, but not in Q. All right. Numbers 5 and 6 really get to be fun. Oh, no, the numbers 5 and 6, sorry, I changed them. I want you to do numbers 5 and 6 on your own. Pause the video. Okay, check your work there for numbers 5 and 6. There we go, number 7. That's the one I was thinking about. And with number 7, I now have 3. So let's see. A, B, and C. So this is A and B and C. Okay, so and means I'm looking for where they overlap. So I want where A overlaps B. That would be this part. Then I'm interested in where B overlaps C. That would be this part. So my answer is this little section here in the middle where all 3 overlap. Should remind you a little bit of shading inequalities in Algebra 1, where you had a system of inequalities and you shaded one direction for the first one, the other direction for the second one, and then looked for the overlap. It's exactly what you're doing right here. All right, we've got 2 more questions, and with both of these, we're actually going to fill in some information. 3 popular courses at Oliver Senior High School are Orchestra, Prop Stats, and Art 1. A survey of 200 students. Okay. Orchestra, Prop Stats, Art 1. Orchestra, Prop Stats, Art. Okay. 70 take orchestra. So the whole circle here is going to be 70. 80 take prob stats. The whole circle is going to be 80. 60 take art. 35 take orchestra and prob stats. That's this overlap. That's going to add up to 35. Let's see. 33 take orchestra and art. So this little sliver is going to be 33. 31 take prob stat and art. 15 take all 3. Yay, that's a definite. Everything else I've got up here is scratch work. So now I need to go back and do a little subtraction, right? Okay, 15. Orchestra and prob stat 35. 35 minus 15 makes this little space 20. 31 minus 15 makes this little space 16. And 33 minus 15 makes this little space 18. Now for orchestra. I need to take my 70 and subtract the 20, 15, and 18, giving me 17, taking only orchestra. For prob stat, take my 80, subtract 20, 15, and 16, and I have 31, taking only prob stat. For art, take my 60 total, subtract 18, 15, and 16, and I get 9, taking only art. Now, the problem said there were 200 students. So I need to go back and see if there's anybody hanging out here in what we call the universe. And it's the universe, it'd be students that aren't taking any of these 3 classes. So if I add up everything inside my Venn diagram, I have 126 students. There are 74 people floating around out here in the universe not taking one of these 3 popular courses. And my Venn diagram has to account for them. When you've got leftovers, so to speak, floating out there, we put the big box around the diagram and we put them outside of any of the circles. 74 students had none of these courses. Let's do another one like this. Mr. Bean gave his geometry students 3 problems, A, B, and C, for extra credit on the last test. And then he calculated how many students earned extra credit points. All right, so I'm going to have A's, B's, and C's. Let's go through and do some scratch work here. 54 in the A circle, 45% in the B, 36 in the C, 12 for A and B together, 17 for B and C together, 20 for A and C together, and 5 got all 3. I needed that in order to start doing some subtraction. So, to figure out which students got A and B right, but not C, 12 minus 5 is 7. Get rid of that scratch work. To figure out who got B and C correct, but not A, 17 minus 5 is 12. And to figure out who got A and C, but not B, 20 minus 5 is 15. All right, to figure out A only, 54 minus 7 minus 5 minus 15, 27. B only, 45 minus 7 minus 5 minus 12, 21. C only, 36 minus 12 minus 5 minus 15, 4. Now, percents have to add up to what? 100. Okay, if I add up everything in my Venn diagram, I've only accounted for 91. So there are 9 people out here in the universe who didn't get any extra credit, or 9% of his students didn't get any extra credit. So we can answer our question. All right, so I want you to write a 2 or 3 sentence summary on Venn diagrams. Be sure you include the key words, including intersection and union.